it's your girl from Philly. Welcome to today's episode of Handcrafted Wines, where we make great wine from home the fun and easy way. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. Stuck in a cloud, drifting away to get out. In today's episode, we're going to be making melon wine. On my Facebook page, I asked my friends for suggestions on what type of wines they'd like to see me make on this channel. And Amber Johnson from Philadelphia, who also happens to be my cousin, suggested I make a wine made out of watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew melon. So we're also going to have 2.5 cups of sugar and our usual players, which will be our pectic enzyme, our acid blend, our dynamic duo, which is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer, our tannin. And today I'm doing something different. I'm going to be using Red Star Premier Cuvee yeast. Premier Cuvee has a potential alcohol volume of up to 18%, but with the ingredients that we're using, I'm trying to get to about 15 to 16% for Amber's wine. Okay, let's get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is add the watermelon directly to the fermenter, not in a straining bag. The reason is the watermelon is going to act as our juice. I'm going to move some of these things out the way so I can get the watermelon closer to me. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So I'm using 3 pounds of watermelon that are already cut up. I used seedless watermelon, and it was a personal size watermelon. So it was just about 3 pounds for the entire watermelon. If you can tell, I'm losing my voice today, but you know, the show must go on. I tasted some of the watermelon. Actually, I tasted all of the melon, and it's very, very sweet, especially the watermelon and the honeydew. Now, seedless watermelon really isn't seedless. It does have these little white seeds, but they're non-germinating seeds, and they don't really affect the batch in any way. When I go to rack the wine, they'll fall down to the bottom with the leaves, so they won't be a bother at all. We're about halfway down. I got some other good suggestions on my Facebook page. So if you ever get a chance to, and if you'd like me to see me make a specific wine for you, go over to my Facebook page, which is PhillyGirlHandCrafted Wines, and tell me what you'd like to see me make on this channel. Now, I do see one large black seed. I'm going to remove that so that doesn't go into our batch. I see one more. I'm glad I caught it. Yep. And because we're starting off with a juice base of watermelon, the actual fruit, one more piece. I'm only going to start off with 2.5 cups of sugar. I'm sorry, with 2 cups of sugar. And I'll reserve the half cup to see if we need it. A little bit more. There, we have a half cup left just in case we need it. And I'm going to add to this a little boiled water, not for the purpose of sanitizing the fruit, because of course the fruit was protected by its outer shell, but just to help dissolve the sugar a little bit more. We'll move this out the way, but I'll return our spoon here because we'll need it for the rest of our fruit. And now with my immersion blender, I'm just going to blitz all of this watermelon. And what I'm going for is for it to be completely made into a pulp. I don't want any whole pieces. Just checking to see if I see any whole pieces left in here. And I think we got them all. So this is our watermelon juice with 2 cups of sugar and 3 pounds of watermelon. Now I'm going to start with our straining bags. The first straining bag I'm going to be putting in our 1.5 pound of, the straining bag is kind of tight. 1.5 pounds of, I'll start with the other one, with honeydew melon. So this is our 1.5 pounds of honeydew melon. Whoop, one fell. So it's 1.5 pounds minus 1 piece. And I'm not going to pulse the honeydew and the cantaloupe. I cut them very small, but we're also using our pectic enzyme, which is going to break down the fruit walls to allow the yeast to get to all the sugars. And because it's a melon and a very soft fruit, it's going to break down very easily. I want to thank Amber for this combination. I would have never thought of it. And you know, every time you go to brunch or to any type of breakfast event, there's always this trio. All right, we're almost done. And there, we have our 1.5 pounds of honeydew melon in our fermenter. I'm going to close the bag and then work on getting this other bag open. Now, our pectic enzyme is going to have a lot of work to do because this is very, very pulpy. Let's try to get this second bag open. These are bags that I used from previous batches. I believe this was pineapple. And I cleaned and sanitized both these bags, but I'm going to spray this one with Star San again just because I've been handling it so much. There we go. And we are open. We're going to give it a blitz to start, and especially where my fingers was touching the string. We want to keep everything sanitized. And I'm going to add this straining bag in and add our cantaloupe. Now, I'm not sure about cantaloupe and honeydew because I've never worked with them before. But watermelon is definitely one of those fruits that tend to foam up and take up a lot of headspace in the fermenter. So I'm not going to overfill this with fluid, with water. I will fill it up a little bit more, but I will leave a lot more space just so that we don't have a blowout in our airlock. Watermelon can be very, very temperamental in your fermenter. Another piece fell. So we have 1.5 pounds of cantaloupe minus 1 piece. And because watermelon is so temperamental, I'll be watching this very, very carefully. I may take a look at this at least twice a day, and at least for the first 7 days. And I'm curious about this specific gravity reading, just because it's so pulpy, what it's going to turn out to be. Which is why I'm using a higher alcohol yeast, so that it gets a chance to cut through all these sugars. Okay, that's our 1.5 pounds. I'm going to lift this up a little bit so the fruit will go down inside the bag. There we go. Now, because there's so much fruit in this batch, this is not going to be a 5-bottle batch at all. This will probably be a 3-bottle batch. So 2 of the bottles I'll give to Amber, and 1 I'll keep for myself. I may not even need to add any more water to this. I don't think I do. Okay, I'm going to try for our specific gravity reading now. And I'm going to try for some of the juice that's a little bit looser at the bottom. Instead of mimosas, you could have this with brunch. That would be nice. Or make a mimosa with it. A little bit of this with some champagne. That would be fun. We're almost at goal. Just a little bit more. And I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. I looked at some of my older videos and checked my hydrometer readings with my older videos, and I kind of missed the mark on a few of them. So I want to check a ABV chart before I say exactly what type of reading we have. I'm a work in progress, so please be patient with me. Okay, so it actually landed right at the red line. Let's see if you guys can see that. I'm not sure if the camera picks that up. Put that directly in the light. So I'm going to check the chart and tell you exactly what that means. Our reading is 1.090. I had to try it up on one of my phones. So for 1.090 starting gravity, I've always said that would be 12% alcohol, which is what the reading says. But because this is such a high alcohol tolerance yeast, I have a feeling that we're going to be higher than that because it's not taking into consideration the sugars that are already in the honeydew melon and the cantaloupe. So I think it's going to actually be closer to about 15%, but we'll see. All right, now we're going to add our usual players, which is our pectic enzyme, which this batch is definitely going to need to make sure that it's not hazy and that it breaks down all the fruit so that the yeast has a chance to get to everything. Our acid blend, which is essential because none of the fruit that we use today has any type of acid in it. Our dynamic duo, which is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. And I'm going to dilute our tannin with a little bit of hot water. Now our tannin is going to temporarily change the color of our pretty batch with this bright watermelon red. But that's okay. After fermentation, the tannin will fall to the bottom after it's done its job, and it will retain its color. I still see one little dry bubble of tannin that hasn't dissolved. And again, the fruits that we're using have no tannin in them at all, so we definitely need tannin. If we weren't going to use powdered tannin, which is my favorite, we could also use black tea, but we would definitely need to add some tannin to this batch. All right, I'm going to use my long spoon and stir that in. And the nutrients kind of sit right on the top because we have so much fruit in this batch. So I have to make sure it's very well incorporated. Oh, you know, I didn't add that that last half cup of sugar. I think I might, just because we have a high tolerant yeast. I may just add that last half cup and do another reading. Okay, so you see how it has drastically changed the color of our batch, but that's not going to be the color of our finished product. So I'm going to add this last half cup of sugar and see where we and as far as our hydrometer reading, we can go a little bit higher. I have to be really careful just to make sure I dissolve the sugar because we're so fruit heavy here. I may, as this channel progresses, I may invest in one of those larger fermenters just so that we can get full 1 gallon batches. I really like working with these glass fermenters though. We'll see. Okay. I'm going to take one more hydrometer reading just to be sure. And again, I'll use a chart just to make sure that what I'm seeing is really what it is. And I think I'm going to sit this fermenter inside of a bucket just to make sure I don't get a blowout and it doesn't get all over the place. Because I have a feeling this is going to be a very, very active fermentation. It's going to be a party in this jar. Almost at 250. All right. Let's take one more reading. Oh, I think it's not moving because it's so thick. So let me move this around a little bit. There we go. So the funny thing is it didn't really change a whole lot. It's now at 1 Oh, it did change a little bit. 110. So let's take a look and see where that would take us. This chart goes as high as 1 point. Well, it skips from 1 point. You know what? Let me put it in the calculator because this is not making sense for me right now. And I want it to make sense. Okay, so the calculator is telling me that my potential alcohol would be 13.13%. So someplace between 13 and 14% with that additional half cup of sugar. But again, there's a lot of sugar in the honeydew melon as well as in the cantaloupe. So that's not being accounted for yet. So I do think that we're going to end up with a higher alcohol product than what's listed. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is add our yeast. And because this is such a thick batch, I'm just going to let it sit there for a little while and kind of, get hydrated, get used to the environment that it's in. And I'll come back and stir it a little bit more later. But right now, I think we're good to go. All right. So we added our lid with our drilled hole in our grommet. I'm adding star sand to our airlock. And we're filling it to the maximum fill line. Perfect. Oh, something I didn't mention is my cousin actually bred her puppies, which are Maltese Shih Tzu puppies, well, dogs. And from that, I got my puppy. My puppy's name is Philly. She's my baby. So her dog is my puppy's mama. Okay, so we have our watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew wine put together. Again, I'll be stirring it every single day for the next 7 days. This will be sitting inside of a bucket just to protect it from any blowouts so it doesn't make a mess. I do believe that we're going to have a higher ABV, so I'll do a follow-up video with the ABV once we've completed it and I begin bottling because, of course, this is going to be a gift. And I'm excited. I'm really excited about this. I really want to thank everybody for the support. This is a brand new channel, and it means a lot to me that people make comments and send me emails, and they comment on my Facebook page. That does mean a lot. Thank you so much, Amber, for giving me this great idea. I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Thank you for joining me at Handcrafted Wines, and have a fantastic day. Bye bye, guys.